Glad to help you. It is good to have her back. It really is. It really is. I want you to open your Bibles to 2 Timothy chapter 2. Now, guys, if I talk to you and you tell me you're saved, I'm not going to deny that. I think you're saved. You say you're saved. I think you're saved. If you tell me I love the Lord, I don't know that I could dispute that. I don't know that I would try. I don't know why I would. But there's something that we are too flippant in saying. And I'm going to discuss that with you tonight. In 2 Timothy chapter 2, beginning of verse 1, it says this, "Thou therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus. And the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men, who shall be able to teach others also. Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. No man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier." Let's bow our heads. Let's talk to the Lord. Father, it is good to be saved. It is good to be in church. And God, it is good to feel as good as everybody here feels. Now, I know somebody here doesn't feel good, but they came to church. Now, I pray, God, you bless them. Probably somebody didn't feel like coming. They came, so bless them, Father. Bless this service. Speak the heart of each individual, God. All we want to do is proclaim your word. All we want to do is exalt you, to have people go out and live to your glory, and that is all our desire. So, God, be in this service and claim it for yourself. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. It says, "Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Jesus Christ." Now, I don't know, if I asked, and I don't put your hand up, if I said, how many of you are soldiers for Christ? Probably you guys all just, oh yeah, I'm a soldier for Christ. It's kind of like just everybody wants on, okay? I'm a soldier. And I am going to dispute that tonight, all right? Now, I am not going to question you. That is not my job. I am not going to, give you a survey, and if you don't pass the survey, I'll know. I am going to let you question yourself. I'm going to give you some questions, and you answer those to yourself, and then you determine if you are really a soldier, because it is too easy to just say, oh yeah, I'm a soldier, and you're not. Here's a real simple, let me ask this. How many people in here either possibly are active and in now, but how many of you have served in the military of this country? Some branch, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. How many of you have been in the military? Come on, put your hands up. All right. Now, I want you to notice the people that put their hands up. Here's my first question. If you're sitting here right now, you say, I'm saved and I'm a soldier for Christ. When did you join? The people that just put their hands up, I saw Terry Klubeck put his hand up. I'll bet Terry Klubeck knows the day he enlisted or got in the military, one way or another. He knows the day he went in. I don't think, do you ever talk to a guy in the military say, hey, when'd you join? I don't know. I just woke up and I was wearing the uniform. It was just on. I've just always liked the military, so I guess I'm always in. Guys, no. People in the military, they joined the military. They wanted to be in, did they not? It was active. It was a thing. They said they wanted to be in. You should remember when you'd say, I am not in the army for the Lord. I am not a soldier for Christ. Today, from this day forward, I am going to be a soldier for Christ. How could you dare say I am a soldier and not know when you started? It's just kind of a thought. It's just kind of a pleasant thought. I'm with them. Well, I'm with them. Guys, I am for our military. I was talking to Aaron Pryor's mom. I've been praying for him every single day for the last 5 years. Last time I was here, I pray for several military people by name. I pray for the entire military just under that general term. But guys, I'm not in the military. Let me tell you what happened. I've never been in the military. What happened was when I was 16 years old, 4 friends of mine and I went to the local Mercury dealer after it was closed. Now, that's not a good time to go shopping for cars. And we hot-wired 2 brand new Comet Cyclone GT 390 4-speeds and stole them. And, we flogged them. We just tore them up. Left them both lying dead alongside the road. And it was when I was 16 that I learned that the only dumb cops are in movies. Guys, it is seldom that people are so stupid that they get caught committing a crime. You got to really be dumb to get caught committing a crime. Almost everybody commits a crime, and then 2 days later, 3 days later, the cops are knocking at their door. The cops aren't stupid, guys. And so it was about 2 weeks later, the police arrested me, and I was charged with grand theft auto. And I was sentenced to Mansfield Reformatory. Now, that sounds like a very benign place. You may have seen it. Oh, no, I've never seen it. Well, you may have seen it. You may have seen it. If you ever watched a movie called The Shawshank Redemption, that is not a prison. That is the old Mansfield Reformatory where I was supposed to serve time. Now, I didn't. Doesn't matter how that happened, but I didn't end up serving the time, but I ended up on 2 years probation. That's 16 years old. And my probation officer, I can still remember him, he said, because I was still, it didn't deter me at all from anything I'd been doing before. But he said, Gipp, he said, I am going to catch you jaywalking, and you're going to Mansfield. Now, I didn't really believe he was going to send me to Mansfield for jaywalking, but it wasn't my jaywalking that I was concerned with anyway, okay? There were sundry other things that surely would have ended my probation and sent me to Mansfield. So now I'm 17 years old. 1 year goes by. I still got a year of probation. A friend of mine and I are out in my 57 Chevy, 3 o'clock in the morning, drunk. And we came around a turn, and on the outside of that turn was a ditch. And I did not say ditch. Do you know when you go off the road, you know what you put in a ditch? You put a tire in a ditch. You can drive into a ditch and drive back out. I've done it. Do you know what you put in a ditch? The whole car. I mean, guys, after we literally went over the side, buried this Chevy. The only thing straight on it was the roof and the trunk. And so here I am, I'm out drinking, 3 o'clock in the morning, underage, on probation. Guess where I'm going? And so this high trooper, I'm sitting in this trooper's car, and he's filling out an accident report, and he goes, Sam, how old are you? I said, 17. He said, it's against the law to drink when you're 17? I said, yes, sir. He said, you've been drinking? I said, no, sir. Well, I'm not volunteering this information, guys. And so he talks for a while, and he goes, how old are you, Sam? I said, 17. He said, it's against the law to drink when you're 17? I thought, this guy must be going senile. He's repeating himself. I said, yeah. He said, you been drinking? I said, no, sir. And all of a sudden, he just explodes. He goes, well, one of us has, and it ain't been me. And I went, well, it must have been, because it ain't been me. And that ended the interview. But here's the thing. They put me in a hospital, and they did a brain wave. And sure enough, my brain went. But here's the problem. If you do this, if you hit your forehead like that, and have a brainwave, anytime in the next 60 days, it will be messed up. And I just had a car wreck. And my doctor, who is the same doctor that some years later overlooked my broken neck, he was consistent. And he did his brainwave, and he said, you're a petite male epileptic. And I said, I knew I wasn't, but I said, I will be anything he wants me to be to stay out of Mansfield. So that's when I'm 17. Then I turn 18 and I have to put this on the draft notice, whatever it is, the registration. In 1968, I think that was maybe the only year they did it. Some of you will remember. They were doing away with the draft, where every guy was drafted at 18, and they did the lottery. And they broke all the eligible 18-year-old guys into 3 groups. If you're in the first group, just surrender. You're gone in. If you're in the second group, you might make it, you might not. If you're in the third group, go get your day job, you're not going in. And I was in the second group, so there's a chance I was going to get drafted, chance I wasn't. And so I thought, okay, I'll just wait for them to draft me. Well, they didn't. And when I was 19, and the reformatory is now out of the picture, I got in a fight with a guy over the Vietnam War. He was against it. I was for our military. I am still for our military, okay? But it made me so mad, next day I went down to the Marine recruiter. And I walked into the Marine recruiter, and I just walked in. I said, now guys, I was very lost, okay? I said, I want to join the Marines. I want to go to Vietnam. I want to kill people. You say, why'd you say that? That is all I wanted. I wanted to join the Marines. I wanted to go to Vietnam, and I wanted to kill people. It's probably very good on God's part that I didn't get in. But do you know how glad they are when somebody actually says, I want to join, and I want to go, and I want to kill? But anyway, so So this guy, he's processed me, and all of a sudden he looks up and he goes, oh. He goes, I can't recruit you. I said, why not? He said, your classification is 1Y. Now, 1A means you're fit for service. 4F means you're not fit for service. 1Y, they would only take you in a declared war or a national emergency. And he said, Vietnam is not a declared war, and it's not a national emergency. I can't let you enlist. So guys, I tried to get into the Marine Corps. I tried to get into the military. Do you know what that means to all the guys that just raised their hands? Nothing. Nothing. You know, I talk to guys all the time in the military, and you ask them what they did, and they're almost embarrassed. Well, I was a cook. Well, I was a clerk. Oh, I was a mechanic on the trucks. Look, I don't care if all you ever fired was a typewriter. In the military, you have done more militarily in your military service for this country than I ever had, okay? Because I remember the day I tried to enlist, but I never got in. So some years later, I had a friend, gave me a letter opener that was a miniature it was a miniature M1 bayonet. Coolest letter opener I ever saw. I would have it today, except for something they did to it. And here's what they did. They said, you remind me of a Marine, so they had engraved on the blade, United States Marine Corps. And I'd look at that letter opener, and here's what I felt. I mean, just a letter opener, but I think it's an affront to any guy who was ever in the Marines. And I had a pastor friend, and he had been in the Marines, and I took it to him. I said, brother, somebody gave me this, and they said, you know, U.S. Marine Corps, United States Marine Corps, and I have no business having this. You were in the Marine Corps. I want you to have it. You know what I'm telling you? I'm telling you, I was never in the Marines. I pray for our military. I respect guys that are in the military. Our young guys from our churches, I have nothing but respect for them. But I was not in. And what I'm telling you is, you should remember the day you got in. Oh, now wait a minute. I remember the day I enlisted in the Lord's Army. It was my first year of Bible college. I'd only been saved about 6 months. It was a revival service like this one. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, I got it in front of the first Bible I had. I think it was January 21st, 1971. I marked it down. I came forward. I enlisted. See, I know when I got in this Army. And I know when I tried to get in the other military, I just never got in. I don't believe you can say you're a soldier of Christ, and then you sit there and go, well, I'm a soldier. I never enlisted. Then you're not a soldier. I saw something on the internet where this guy was chasing down one of these guys that was just wearing a uniform and talking to kids about his exploits in the military. And this guy said, well, then how come your unit patch is on the wrong shoulder? And he said, well, what did you do? And he goes, no, he said, you couldn't have that MOS and be in the military. And this guy, he's literally chasing me saying, get that uniform off. Yay, guys, you know why? Because he was never in. And I'm telling you something, putting on the uniform doesn't mean that you're in. I have a friend. He is was lieutenant colonel in Special Forces, in Green Berets. He was in Vietnam. And he likes me, isn't that crazy? He wrote the foreword, the introduction for the 2 Fight On books. He asked to do that. He said he wanted to do that. And so he did this. And he likes me. And he gave me a baseball hat. And on this baseball hat, it says Combat Infantryman. I'm here to tell you that hat has never been on my head. You know why? Because I feel the moment I'd put that hat on my head, I gave it to a guy that was in the infantry, had been in combat. I felt the moment I put that hat on my head, it was an affront to every guy who was in the infantry and ever was in combat. Do you understand? What I'm telling you is, I don't want to pretend to be something I never have been. But I find Christians all the time, and they so flippantly, they so lightly go, oh yeah, I'm a soldier for Christ. Then when did you join? You have got to remember when you joined. You have got to remember a day when you said, I want to be in this army. Man, I'm telling you, we've had the last couple of years, we've had some tough times. My wife and I have physical problems and other problems, you know, and some real battles. And I get down on my knees and I don't complain. I had a missionary friend. He's gone through some tough stuff. And he was in Bible college, and a homeless guy stabbed him I mean, stabbed him, almost disemboweled him. Chased him around a pool table with a bunch of other homeless guys cheering him on. Almost killed him. Then he went to a mission field where he had to be sponsored by a citizen of the country. And then that citizen turned on him and lied about him to get his visa pulled. And just as they're about to yank his visa, this guy has gone through stuff I could never go through. And he's one of the meekest, quietest guys you ever saw. And when he's about to lose his visa and get thrown out of the country, you know what he did? He went to the local university and enrolled and got a student visa. And stayed there under the student visa for 4 years while he's in the university. And while he's in the university during that time, he got all his other stuff squared away and stayed there after that as a missionary. And he was going through some tough times. He was going through some battles. And he called me up and he was telling me about it. And I know this sounds hard, guys. I'm so sorry, but I said this. I said, brother, didn't you know it was a war when you joined? You knew it was a war when you joined, didn't you? He goes, yeah. Guys, I get into some tough times. You know what I remember? I knew it was a war when I joined. I was talking to your pastor today. I said, I remember the first Gulf War, one of the funniest things I ever saw during the first Gulf War. They were interviewing this 19-year-old kid in the Army, and he's about to be shipped to Iraq. Iraq. And he goes like this, he goes, I didn't join the Army to fight. I just wanted to get my college paid for. And I want to tell him, and you're going to if you live through this. See? A message of hope. Guys, what is this? I'm going to join the military, but I have no intention of fighting? That's what it's about. And we want to join the Lord's army, and we want to be non-combatant, and we want to be friends with the enemy. Guys, if you are a soldier for Christ, all I'm asking is, do you remember when you joined? My second question. If you are a soldier, who is your enemy? You should know who your enemy is. I mean, in World War II, the enemy was German or Japanese. In Vietnam, they were the North Vietnamese or the Viet Cong. In Iraq, they were anybody who was wearing a towel. And but really, you should know who your enemy is. Should you not? You know what I'm afraid of? I am afraid that we think we're in the military because we're always shooting people. But most people our people shoot are our people. I'll bet you've done more damage to Christians than you have lost people. I'll bet some of you have done more damage to the Lord's cause than you have the devil's cause. And it's not your fault. It is not your fault. That Christian committed the sin unto death. And you know what the sin unto death is. To disagree with me. No, not with Sam Gipp, but all Christians. I don't care what you say. All Christians believe that if you disagree with me, I will kill you. And I'll be right to do it. What I'm asking you is, all right, here's my question. Who are you trying to hurt? Now, if you just said, oh, I don't want to hurt anybody. Really? Because if we were in a foxhole, one of us is leaving before the battle starts. I don't care if you're holding the right weapon. I don't care if you're in the military. If I say, well, they're about to attack, are you ready to kill them? Well, I sure hope not. I hope I don't have to hurt anybody. I think I just shoot you. I can use your ammunition. But I'm asking you this, who are you trying to hurt? And you know that most Christians, and I know you say, oh, I don't want to hurt anybody. Oh, come on, guys. Now, I know this. Look, one of the things I'm glad about being a Baptist, I am glad I'm a Baptist because Baptists don't gossip. Isn't that good? Well, wait a minute. All right, I'll prove this. No, you'll prove this. How many people in here are dirty, rotten gossips? See? Nobody's a gossip. But Baptists can spread killer prayer requests. Man, we can put people out of the ministry of the prayer requests. We can split a church with them. Well, you just pray for our pastor, you know. He used an illustration today that he used 17 years ago, and he's probably out of material, and God wants him to move on, but he doesn't know it yet. Hey, guys, you know, I feel bad that when a Christian puts somebody in their sights, it's usually another Christian. Let me ask you, what are you doing? Are you doing anything to make the devil's crowd mad? You know, that first Gulf War, there was a story about a Muslim who was in our army, and there was a group of American soldiers, and this American soldier, Muslim, pulled the pin on a hand grenade and threw it in the middle. In this country, threw it in the middle of a bunch of American soldiers. I think he injured 11 and killed 2. You say, dirty rat? I don't know. I'm surprised to find out he's a Muslim. I thought it sounded like a Baptist tactic to me. What I'm telling you guys, who are you, who are you trying to hurt? What are you doing to hurt them? Now you say, preacher, I don't like that word hurt. Well, if you are in the military, get out. Resign, get out. That's what the military is for. Do you understand? The military is to get rid of the bad guys. You know how you do it? You shoot them. Now, I am not telling you, we do not shoot our enemies. We are not Muslims. We do not blow people up. We do not march on Washington with guns in our hands, okay? We are not going to throw the bomb out. We aren't doing that. That is not what we do. We win them. You eliminate them by winning them. I went to this guy's house one time many years ago, and he was a truck driver, and I won him to Christ in his kitchen. And he said, wait just a second. And I just led him to the Lord, and he gets up and he walks down the hall, and he comes back, and he's got a pistol in his hand, a revolver. And he lays it on the table, and it was a .357 Magnum, and I could see it had bullets in it. He said, you know what that is? Yeah, I know. I said, yeah, I know what that is. You know why I got that? Now we're getting to the question I'm really more interested in the answer, you know. I said, no, why do you have that? He said, I'm an over-the-road truck driver. He said, 7 years ago, I wasn't. He said, I had a different job 7 years ago, but 7 years ago, a man hurt my family, and he was an over-the-road truck driver. And he said, when that man hurt my family, I quit my job. I got a CDL. I became an over-the-road truck driver. I bought that gun. And he said, I am only a truck driver looking for him. And he said, I don't never pass a truck stop. He said, I pull into every truck stop. I get out of my truck. I tuck that right here in the back of my pants. I pull my jacket down over it. And he said, I walk in every truck stop. I look up down the stools. I check all of the tables and booths. Because he said, I know one of these days I'm going to see him, and I'm going to walk up behind him, and I'm going to empty that pistol in him. And then he said, but I don't have to do that now, do I? I said, no, you don't. Now, you know what I just did? I effectively killed him. Because he was going to kill somebody else. If he never killed somebody else, it's because he got killed. So how did you kill him? I led him to Christ. But let me ask you something. Is there anything you're trying to hurt? Are you trying to stop the school board from corrupting the children in your area? Are you doing it? You know, our whole problem is, well, I don't want to do anything that'll make people not like me. They already don't like you. They already don't like you. At least go out and earn it. Let me ask you this. Who are you trying to upset as far as your enemy? At least, come on, can you at least upset somebody? It doesn't bother me at all when I upset somebody who doesn't believe the King James Bible. If you say God inspired a book and then didn't care or didn't have the power to preserve it, I am not your friend, and I want to ruin your day. I was someplace and some guy mentioned some preacher, and I never heard him. He says, he didn't like you. I could hardly sleep through lunch. And he says, he doesn't like your stand on the King James Bible. I said, well, good. I said, if a guy that doesn't believe the King James Bible is perfect, doesn't like me, I'm doing something right. I'll tell you something, guys. When you think I'm doing something wrong about that book, you people believe this book. When I get you upset, I am going to listen to what you got to say. But that guy, that's a guy I want to get upset. I say it, guys. There are some people, when they say my name, I want them to spit. I want to say, oh yeah, like Sam Gipp. You say, oh, how could you want that? Wait a minute. I am telling you that you are not going to go through life and not have somebody dislike you. So since you can't do anything, there's always going to be a certain amount of people that dislike you. You know what I say? Choose who it is. And you know who it shouldn't be? It shouldn't be us. It shouldn't be this group here. It ought to be the crowd that doesn't believe salvation is by grace. It ought to be the crowd that thinks that two men can get married. It ought to be the crowd that doesn't believe the Bible is perfect. It ought to be the crowd that thinks that we all fell out of trees as apes and became college professors. Guys, there ought to be somebody you're doing something to upset. My bumper stickers upset people. Bless my heart. It does. You say, well, you shouldn't have that attitude. Let me ask you a question. If you were in the military, what attitude would you want the guy beside you to have? Why can't we all just be friends? Would you want that? You know what you'd want? You'd want somebody who's going to take somebody out. You don't have to like them. You'd want somebody who's going to take out the enemy when they come your way. Is that not true? And yet, we're all like a bunch of, well, I just don't want to upset anybody. There are some people you want to upset. We walked into a motel one time and had this bumper sticker. I had this made up. It said, you ever hear this, before they do anything, you got to fill out an environment, every company has to fill out an environmental impact statement. And so I had one said, environmentalists should have to fill out an economic impact statement. And this is when John was with us. And we're walking into this motel, and here's this bumper sticker on this car, and it said, like, earth is your mother, be kind to your mother, something like that. And when I said to my son, John, I said, look at that bumper sticker. He goes, yeah. I said, man, would it be awful if tonight somebody broke in our van and stole one of our bumper stickers and put it over that guy's? He goes, I have never seen my boy's face light up. He goes, yeah. So we're in a motel, and he goes, hey, Pop, he said, I forgot something out in the van. Can I have the keys? Well, sure, son. More than happy to give you the keys. Oh, man. We walked out there the next day, and somebody, it must have been after John was out of the van because he didn't see him, but somebody had somehow broken into our van, stole that bumper sticker, put it on, and say, oh, that's awful. It's not destruction. Nobody destroyed anything. But it just made, hey, you say, well, I'll bet that guy when he found it, he was upset. I hope. I had one on the back of my truck that said, if the earth is your mother, I walk on your mother. Not this truck, but the one that mysteriously caught fire. But, and I came out one day, and about 1 square inch was picked off about 1/8 of an inch at a time, one corner. I thought, oh man, it is a double blessing. Not only did I upset a liberal because he didn't like what it said, but he's twice upset because he couldn't get it off my truck. I mean, he got 1 square inch, he's probably wore out. That's probably the hardest a liberal's ever worked. But what I'm saying, guys, is there anybody, and here's the thing, you say, I don't want to upset anybody. You will upset a preacher anytime, any day of the week. You will catch a preacher at the back of a service and say, you said this and shouldn't have, or you preached too long, or I don't like this, or I don't like, I know Christians will put preachers on defensive all the time, or you put your brother or sister in Christ. Now, you don't mind upsetting them. Guys, who are we shooting at? It should not be us. So, I'm asking, who is your enemy? My third question, who are you supporting? I told you I'm not in the military, but I support them. Let me tell you something. We have a thing in our group called the designated offering. I don't know who came up with this designated offering idea. This is where I give you money and tell you how to spend it. I say, I don't give you $100. I say, here's $100, and I want you to go get the car parts you need for your car, so that you can't use it for anything else. I don't know who came up with the designated offering, but that ranks right up there with the Chinese buffet as far as good ideas. When I was pastor in Auburn, I got a phone call from a pastor in Ohio, and he said, pray for this other pastor. And I said, why? He said, he's really gone through it, and it's a Baptist church. He said, they're holding back their tithe. They're trying to starve him out. He said, pray for him. And I said, okay, I will. I'll pray for him. So I get down on my knees. Right after I got off the phone, I'm praying for this guy, and I said, God, send this guy some money, he needs some money. And God said, you give him money. I said, God, I'm a Baptist preacher. I said, you know everything. You know I ain't got any money. Well, here's the thing. I'd been saving up $100. And I saved up $100. I was going to take my wife out. And I'd forgotten about it. I wasn't saying, I just forgot about it. And I said, I don't have any money. He goes, you got that $100? I said, I do. I said, I'll send it to him. So I sent this guy. Now look, I've never spoken to this guy. I've never seen this guy. If he's sitting here now, I wouldn't know him. But I sent him this $100. But I made it a designated offering because let me tell you the truth about Baptist preachers, okay? You call them money grubbers and everything else. Let me tell you the truth. You give a Baptist pastor money, and if he needs money and you give him money, if somebody in his church needs money, he'll pass it on to them. I didn't want this guy passing this $100 on to anybody else. So I said, this is a designated offering. And I said, here's what I'm giving you this money to spend. I know he's going to tithe it. But I said, I want you to take this money and take your wife and go out to eat. Now, even back then, it'd be kind of hard for two people to spend $90 on a meal. So I know there's going to be some money left over. And I said, when you're done, I want you to take what's left and go to the mall and buy your wife a new dress. Now you're going, oh, you knew his wife. I didn't even know her name. No, I didn't know anything about her. You know what I knew? I knew that this guy who I've never met, never spoken to, never seen, I know that he's gone through some tough times and that he's going to make it through. You know why? Because he's a man. I'm sorry, ladies. You know, he may go out behind the barn and look up toward heaven and shake his fist and say some things that a couple of days later, when he clears his mind, he's going to go back there and apologize for. Okay? But he's going to get through. I don't know if his wife's going to get through because it's always harder on the preacher's wife. I figure we'll take care of her. He'll take care of himself. So I get this letter back. And he thanked me for it. But he said, the biggest blessing about your money, the money you sent, is it came in our mail on April 18th. Oops, April 18th. What's that? 3 days late on taxes. I don't know what April 18th is. He said, April 18th is our wedding anniversary. And he said, because of the financial problems at the church this year, I didn't have any money to take my wife out for anniversary or buy her a dress. That's a designated offering. I wish we had designated taxes. I pay my taxes, guys. In fact, I pay taxes for me and several other people. Some of them aren't even citizens, but I pay a lot of people's taxes. You heard about, when Obama said we're spreading the wealth? It was mine. I've had them audit me 6 years solid, okay? And look at me and lie. But I pay my taxes. I don't have any gripe about paying my taxes. But you know what I wish? I wish they could say, where'd you like to spend this? I would designate it all for the military. I would. I'd say buy all the bombs and the bullets you can. I put it all in weapons. I would not say give it to some bum that isn't going to work anyway. Right. I wish we could designate it. You say, what are you doing? I'm asking you this. Who are you supporting? They say this, in our military, 10% of the active military is in combat. You say, you mean 90% aren't even doing nothing? I didn't say that at all. I said they're not in combat. Well, what good are they? Well, if you were in combat, would you want to come out of combat and then cook your own meals? Would you like to get wounded and then find out that they never trained any doctors, they just trained infantrymen? How about keeping the Hummer running? Did you know this? You ever hear this old thing about airborne guys it's crazy to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. No. It's crazy to jump out of a perfectly good airplane with a chute that somebody else packed. You know that they don't even pack their own chutes? You talk about faith. Now, special forces, they pack their own chutes. But airborne, somebody just packs the chute. You better hope that guy knows what he's doing if you're airborne, don't you? And what I'm telling you guys, I don't always say this. See, one of the things we teach, and it's an error, we teach everybody's got to be a frontline infantryman. You got to be up front doing you got to all be knocking on the doors. You got to all be doing this. No, if you're not going to do that, then you ought to be doing something that helps somebody that's doing that. I mean, openly and actively. I had a youth department back in Ohio, and I used to teach our guys to take care of each other. And we had a visitation night. I got such a blessing because a young man came to visitation. And he drove in, went on visitation, he came back. I think they might have won somebody to the Lord. And he said, it was visitation night. And he said, I only had $2 for gas. And that $2 would either get me to visitation or get me to work tomorrow. So I spent it to go on visitation. I thought, man, that is so good. But I pulled my wallet out because I think you ought to be taken care of. And he said, no. No, I said, no, I want. He said, no. He said, some of the other teenage guys had all found that out and already, they gathered about $8 for gas and gave it to him. They were supporting him. Guys, You know, I support, personally, we support missionaries in countries I hope I never have to see before the millennium. There are places I don't want to go there, all right? I don't even have a burden, but I want the people to get the gospel. I'll support somebody else. Well, who are you helping? Who are you supporting? I'm not telling you you have got to be out there fighting. I think everybody reaches a point where you get out of active combat. I was talking to a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps some years ago. And you have two parallel columns in the military. You have enlisted and you have officer. And enlisted, you start as a private, and then a corporal, and then any number of sergeants. I can't even go through all of them. But then in the officers, you start lieutenant, second lieutenant. Let me see if I get that. I was in the military, so I can't get this right. Absolutely. Captain, major, lieutenant colonel, colonel, brigadier general, lieutenant general, major general, and general. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4 stars. And I asked this lieutenant colonel, and by the way, let me clarify something, and if you don't get anything from this message, and this isn't biblical or spiritual, but please get this straight. Our military men, our officers, do not lead from the rear. I get so fed up. You watch some stinking, stupid Hollywood movie where they make some officer look like a coward. I am telling you, our men do not lead from behind. They lead from the front. Anytime there is a major battle, it is the lieutenants, it is the guys, the squad leaders and the platoon leaders, it is the officer corps that some of the very best are gone that fast. Our men always lead from the front. You say, well, generals don't lead from the front. How can you lead 30,000 men from the front? I talked to you about Norman Schwarzkopf. Would you want him in the front? Because he's the guy that came up with the famous left hook. If he was in the front, we wouldn't have gotten that. So I said, at what point in the officer's rank would a man still be physically leading men into combat? I was surprised. He said, colonel. Full bird colonel will still lead him into combat. But what he's saying is, then when you get above that, the reason generals don't lead men into combat is because they are moving several 100,000 men. They cannot possibly lead that many men in. You come to a point where you're not in active combat anymore. We can't accept that. We want the pastor when he's 96 years old, if he's not out door knocking, we're firing him because he's just not doing what we hired him for. And what I'm telling you guys, there comes a point, if you are not going to be out there beating the bushes, then help somebody that's beating the bushes. Fill their gas tank, fix their car. You know what? If somebody had a brain in a church, you know what they do? They would go to the pastor and say this: don't ever buy another gospel tract. Tell me what you want and I'll pay the bill. You know what that'd be like? That would be like buying the bullets for an army. Wow. Can you imagine? Remember I was telling you about throwing the tracts out and who knows where they're going? You say, what's more exciting than that? If you paid for all the tracts. Because then you paid for the seed. Guys, man, can you imagine the part you would have in that? There ought to be, I'm asking you, who are you supporting? Who are you trying to help? Let me ask you this. What's your theater of operation? You better know where a theater of operation is where you fight. Where do you fight? What is your ground to defend? I tell you guys, my ministry is called A Friend of Churches. That is not a light title. I am a friend of churches. I want to be a friend of churches. And if somebody hurts a church, I am going to hurt them. You say, why? Because if you hurt my friend, I am going to hurt you. And this church is my friend. I am your friend. And I don't want somebody messing with churches. And so if somebody starts messing with churches, I start messing with them. You say they don't like you. I don't care. I want them to dislike me. But what I'm asking you is, what is your theater of operation? What do you do? What's your area? I doubt you have anything you need to take care of in California. But God's given you this locality. So have you staked out anything? Have you said, we're going to take that hill? You know, one of the reasons we never succeed at anything is because we never have any objective whatsoever. We have no objectives whatsoever other than maybe get out of service in time to catch my 9 o'clock TV program. But we don't have any objectives. So what is your theater of operation? What is your military objective? I have two. I want people to worship the right God, and I want them using the right book. I would love, if I could have another area of expertise, I would love to have spent my life studying evolution and anti-evolution. I would love to combat the evolutionists. I would really love it. But I don't. You say, why? Because I spent 45 years studying on the King James Bible to defend that. And that's my thing. So, you know what I'm hoping? I'm hoping somebody else takes on the evolutionists. But I know what my job is. I know what my job is not. This thing on contradictions, I get people and they say, what about this and this? Now you have to understand something. Contradictions in the Bible is not the same as different versions. And I don't do that work. That's why I'm glad we got a book. I just say, well, there's a book, and I hope what you're talking about is in the book. Well, why don't you study that? Because if I study that, I can't study this. And this is what I screwed my brain down on and said, this is my military objective. I want to be proficient at this. If I can be successful, guys, I just heard this about 3 months ago. We have those 7 videos on the internet at bigdealkjv.com, and a guy emailed me from Canada and said, I don't know who this guy is, but the guy in charge of all of the Presbyterian churches in Canada got straightened out in the King James Bible watching our videos on the internet. You say, what is that? That is one hill taken. So you feel good about it? Well, yeah, but just remember, there's a lot of hills. A lot of hills. So what is your military objective? You can't be an expert in everything. But could you focus on one thing? Could you say, I am going to be good at this for the Lord? What is your military objective? What has your service cost you? Boy, it fries me. It fries me when a bunch of overpaid guys in Congress complain about the pension that a soldier gets. Because that soldier could die at any point in his service. All right? At any point. And this guy, I mean, you understand that in Congress, they don't even have to operate the elevator? Come on, guys. Can you operate an elevator? What floor? I did it. I worry that we have congressmen voting on things in this country, and they have to have somebody push the buttons for them. And you're going to tell me that guy deserves a pension more than the military guy deserves a pension? Every guy that has been in the military, now there's 2 kinds of guys, and I'll explain that in a minute, but every guy that's been in the military, whether it's been for one tour, whether it's like 4, 5, 6 years, or his career, 25 or 30 or more years, it has cost them something. Something in the civilian world they never attained. Maybe they could have been good at this, maybe they could have been good at that, but because they chose a military life, or even if they just went in for a few years, something they didn't get back when they came, they went in the military here, got out 5 years later, they didn't get back on track right where they got out. They did not make up, there was a loss. All right, I'm asking you this. If you are in the Lord's service, what has your service cost you? You understand? And guys, I don't try to preach long. I really do not. I do not attempt to preach long. But I am about up to here with a bunch of whining babies going, hey, I don't want to be in church that long. You're telling me that you can't even give up a few minutes in an evening service? That is too much? And you're praying for revival? What if I told you this? What if I could infallibly tell you that there's going to be a revival strike this church tonight at 1 o'clock in the morning, and we all have to stay here till then? I will guarantee you somebody would get up and say, well, the Lord could have started at 9:30. I'm going home. Now, you can't even stay long in church, and you're going to serve God. You're going to do something that's going to cost you something. We are the Baptists. They used to say about a Methodist, they went for a loan at a bank, and they said, got any collateral? They said, I'm a Methodist. That's good enough for us. They were as good as their word. Hey, try that as a Baptist. You know what we're good for? That we came up with the painless sacrifice. Somehow we give our used tea bags to the missionary, and we give our worn out clothes, and I want to give. I don't want it to cost me anything. Guys, it's got to cost you something. It's got to cost you something. What has it cost you? You know, all I ever wanted in my life when I was lost, all I ever wanted, I love cars, and I like working on cars, and more than anything, I like painting cars. And I wanted my own body shop. And what I really wanted was a paint shop. And about the time I got saved, I was getting into candy apples and metal flakes and spider webbing and custom paints and flame jobs. And I wanted to perfect that. And then I wanted to somewhere along the line get a shop and just have a custom paint shop. And that was all I wanted. And I got saved. And I went down to Bible college. And I think I mentioned this to you, that the second year, after the first year, when I was going down for the second year, my boss, he offered to sell me the shop. Guys, that was all I ever wanted. That's all I ever wanted. I didn't even want to do that. This isn't what I said. I want to do custom paint jobs because I'll make a lot of money. That wasn't my motive. I mean, I love cars and I love painting them, and I wanted to just make them look good. Money was incidental. I don't even know if I was a good enough businessman to make money. But it was what I always wanted. And one of the hardest things 29 years ago when we went on the road is after about the first year, I had to sell all my body shop tools. I mean, I had some nice paint guns and stuff that I enjoyed, and I got rid of it. And it had been in stores for 29 years. It'd be worthless today, okay? What I'm saying is, to walk away from that is difficult. So what have this service that you're in, this being a soldier for Christ, has it cost you anything? You got any family that won't have anything to do with you because you're such a religious fanatic? I hope you do. You should. Has it cost you anything? Have you been disassociated? Has it cost you anything out of your wallet? Has it cost you anything in your health? My neck has always been bad, and I got a low back, and it's bad. When we went on the road 29 years ago, my wife's back was good. But here's what they tell you. You look at that motorhome. I was reading Motorhome magazine a few years ago. They said driving a motorhome down the road is like subjecting your house to a 3.5 earthquake. So imagine if you had a 3.5 earthquake. So, preacher, that's not a major earthquake. What if you had a 3.5 earthquake every 4 days? You think the wall that doesn't crack today might crack 4 days from now or 4 days later? Guys, we're driving every 4 days, and it has destroyed her back. And think about this, because if it's gone through there, it's gone through you. And this year, more than ever before, we have left churches at Wednesday night and then driven for 300 miles, parked between a couple of idling semis for 2 hours and sleep, and then get on the road and go again. And there have been times when I've said this to Kathy. I said, I can feel it killing me. You say, oh, that's so sad. I don't want your sympathy. There are guys that die in a foreign field, never to come back to this country, and they're just glad to die for their country. I said, I can feel it killing me. I would feel bad if I said that because it was my football practice. I would feel bad if I was the guy, if you look at my posters down there, the guy that does the artwork on those posters played professional football for 10 years. He played pro ball 5 years for the Dallas Cowboys. Are you ready for this? 5 years for the Cowboys and 5 years for the Redskins. Is this not balance? He's kind of schizo. He does this. Anyway, and I said, you ever think about it? He goes, oh man, every day. I said, you miss it that bad? He goes, no. He said, I take painkillers every day. He said, my shoulders are messed up. He said, my neck is messed up. He said, my back is messed up. Guys, if my back is messed up from being on the road in an RV, I'm not complaining. I'll take it. And I love football, but I'll take it. I'll take it for the Lord. What I'm asking you is, what is this service, this great service in the Lord's military that you're in? Where's it cost you anything? I told you, we're getting worried. They don't even like to have to get out of bed anymore. So if you're a soldier, what's it cost you? One last question. Public school. Anyway, one last question. There are two kinds of people in the military. This is not to denigrate either one of them. There's a guy that goes in, enlists 4 years, 5 years, and then gets out and goes about his business. My son John went in the Marine Corps, got out, and he's out. And then there's the lifer. This guy goes in, and he is in and in and in. You'd be surprised how many platoon sergeants are in their 40s. I pray for a man in special forces. No, special ops. This is one of those guys that disappears into the night and then shows back up. I asked him, so what do you do? He said, if I tell you, I'd have to kill you. I said, well, could you tell my mother-in-law? But, and he's like almost, I think, 40, 45 years old. Now, I'm sure he's in good shape, but he's a lifer. Now, one of the things about this, the guy that's in for one tour sometimes doesn't understand the lifer. Because, man, it's like, this is mom, this is apple pie, this is Chevrolet, this is home. And he's going, hey, you're out of your mind. And this guy, he doesn't understand the guy that's in there. Why would you come in and then get back out? Where's your love for the country? Where's your love for people? What about your fellow soldier? Okay? I'm not putting down either one of them. But let me tell you a statistic that I've had some brethren tell me they don't understand that I understand completely. A person can be in church for 20 years, but they say the average functional life of a Christian, in other words, when they're doing something, when they're door knocking, when they're passing tracks, soul winning, in some way active for the Lord, over that 20 years, they said they will be active for about 5. And I had this preacher, he said, I don't understand it. I said, man, I understand it completely. He said, why? I said, that's one enlistment. They got in, they served, they got out, see ya. Oh, they don't even leave church. They just sit there, warm in the pew, and said, I did my time. And then and you know something? Us lifers don't understand those people at all. We don't understand it. I'm sorry. We cannot understand it. And you don't understand us. Because we think that this ought to be the first thing on your mind every morning and the last thing on your mind every night. And that everything that you do, all of your energy and all of your thoughts ought to be in some way involved with this book. And you go, yeah, well, I knock on the people. So here's my question. If you say, well, preacher, I remember when I got in. And I remember, okay, my question is this. Are you still active? You know, a lot of guys, like they would join the Navy, they'd say 4 and 2. 4 years active, 2 years reserve. You could be called back up while you were out during those 2 reserve years. And so they'd say, I'm in the Navy, but I'm not active. You know what some of you can remember? You can remember being in the service for the Lord. You can remember when you did do something. You can remember when you confronted Jehovah's Witnesses. You know what I believe? I believe this, guys. I don't know that anybody's ever done this. I cannot do this, and you'll see why. You have to have a house. You do. You have to have a house. If you got a house, you qualify. Here's what I think you should do. I think every person with a house ought to do this. You ought to study what you have to do to refute Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons. You mean so when they knock on my door? No. So when they knock on your neighbor's door. I think you ought to study on how to refute both those. Then you ought to go to every neighbor you got on your street. Yeah, hey, I live right over there. Do you ever have any Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses knock on your door? Oh, yeah, man. Does that bother you? Yeah, I wish they'd leave me alone. Well, the next time that one knocks on a door, just tell them, just send them over to my house. I'll take care of them for you. Yeah, thanks. We rented a house one time for a couple of months. And we were like on they were like, it was a street that you came in here, and we were the first house. There's one here and one across the street. And one Saturday morning, I got my door knocked on, and it was this guy and his daughter. They're in their van, and it's a bunch of JWs. I call that's a Jehovah's Witness fire mission. You say, what'd you do? Look, if I knock on a Jehovah's Witness's door, I treat him with respect. I'm bothering him. I'm on his property. I'm not going to pick a fight with him. I may talk to him about his doctrine, but I'm not going to get ugly with him. When he knocks on my door, he is active for the devil. I'm going to shoot him. No, I'm not going to get a gun and shoot him. Of course not. But I'm going to eat him up. And so I just destroyed this guy. He said, it's not very nice. Then he should have stayed home and washed his car. I try to you know what I do? I try to manufacture backslidden Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses. After they meet me, I hope next visitation night, when it comes time to go, they go, you know, I think I'll just stay home and wash the car. That's what I want. And so this guy, I destroyed him. You say, why? Because that Bible does that. We were the first house. You know what they did? They got in the van, turned around, and left the neighborhood. You should do that. You should learn how to defeat the Mormons and the Jehovah's Witnesses, then go to everybody on your street and say, I will defend you. You don't have to use those words, but if they knock on your door, send them to me. I'll take care of it for you. They'll love you. They will. They'll see you and they'll think, this guy is my friend. They might even come to church sometime. But what I'm asking you, can you remember a time when you were doing something, but you're not? You're not now. You know what I notice? I notice a lot of guys my age and older, maybe 10 years older, the Vietnam vets. I was not in Vietnam. I was not in the military. And some of those guys, they came home. Boy, they got called baby killer. They didn't want anybody to know they were in the military. Now you see them, white-haired old men wearing a baseball hat that says, Vietnam vet. You know what they want? They want people to know they were in. See, I was there. I served. And can you remember when you served? Maybe I'm talking to somebody. I want you to stand with your heads bowed. Maybe I'm talking to somebody tonight that needs to enlist. You have said you're in the Lord.